Great. So really just to put this all in context, we've been running a series of webinars on systems that Africa Media Online represents into the African market. As I've said in the previous webinars, really, as Africa Media Online, we were developing our own systems for over 20 years and have discovered we cannot keep up with all the changes, the rapid changes in development of systems. And it was much better for our clients if we could rather go and find best of breed systems from around the world and represent them into the African market, which is what we've done. So we still speak about ourselves as having the Preservatio stack, but part of that stack are other systems that are complementary to one another. And the first of those really is Mediagraph, which we're obviously going to be speaking about today. And we've got Peter on the call, who is really the brains, the media brain behind a Mediagraph, and who has a distinguished career in media management and in helping media organizations, and particularly photographers, know how to manage their content in the best possible way. So I'm very excited about Peter being on the call with us and being able to showcase this system, which is a very powerful application, and really is placed for us in the sort of in terms of the whole stack, in the place of being a work in progress archive. In other words, it's a system that you can use right across your organization to manage all the media coming in from every department. You can give each department their own area. You can particularly manage use rights so that you're never wondering what is this file and where did it come from and what rights we have to it. And it can do much, much more. It's integrated with the Adobe suite and all sorts of things. So it's a really brilliant system, and I'm excited that we're going to be showcasing that to you. Limecraft is a system that we represent more to the broadcast market. It's got lots of AI, specialized AI in terms of speech to text. And it really works with broadcasters, large collections of video material and audio material. Picvario is more our sort of front end, and it's more a sort of middleware system for our sort of permanent archive. And AM Cortex is an alternative, which is more suited to heritage and very specialized to heritage and academic collections. And then Engage is an app which is used for visitor attractions, like a museum, and it can pop up all sorts of content at you and be geolocated. And so a lot of the content that you are gathering to your digital archive through Mediagraph will be going onto your digital archive and then being pushed out through something like Engage. So that's my introduction, and it's great to have you here, Peter. And thank you for participating in this, and I'm looking forward to what you have to share with us.
Thanks, Dave. It is a pleasure to be continuing to work with you. We've had almost 15-year history of working together, and it's been a very rewarding one for me, and I'm very pleased to be part of the Africa Media Online tech stack. And I think we should just jump in and take a look at Mediagraph. And so I'm going to share my screen, and we will start with a couple of slides that will set the stage here. This is this partnership that we have. I want to give you some information about our company, some of the verticals and selected companies that we already work with. Because Mediagraph is so adaptable, it's quite useful across many different verticals, many different types of organizations. We're doing quite a bit in the education space, and you can see here many other places. We love storytelling, and we love helping nonprofits and travel and tourism as well. And you'll see some of that. The company is 11 years old. We have a very stable client base, starting with our previous software and moving into Mediagraph, which is about 3 years old as a product. We are quite scalable, and it is a pure cloud-based application. This is the third piece of software, the third generation of software from the company. It is modern, multi-purpose. You'll see that, and highly configurable. We believe that we are great for more than just a photo video library, but actually we have the ability to crowdsource media and information from across your entire stakeholders, and really to be a repository of knowledge. You can attach pretty much any kind of knowledge that your institution is interested in. We'll see that the front end can be very simple for users, but it is quite powerful under the hood. We are highly focused on discovering content intuitively. This is a big issue when people are faced with a large collection and they don't necessarily know everything that's in there. We give all users the ability to download, share, and curate files, so that they can build their own stories, make sense of the material in ways that makes that's good for them, and highly group based, so you can use it across multiple departments. And as Dave indicated, rights management, we have an excellent rights management capability, and we do have some very good artificial intelligence tools, keywording, facial recognition, video transcription, optical character recognition, and sensitive content warnings all happen in the background as files are uploaded, and it's quite helpful. So with that, I want to show you what the application looks like. So we'll go into Firefox here. The application, we're looking at my own personal account, and we are looking at the account as a person who is not logged in, and we can see that we have poster images, and then we have these featured collections down here. And this is really useful to have push content to be able to keep information in front of your organization, in front of your stakeholders, and these can be permission controlled, so that one department could be seeing, the social media team could be seeing the new available images for social media use, whereas the marketing team might see brochures or other types of content, and production team might see something else entirely. When we click in to look at a collection, we come in and the library opens up, and we can see that library collections can be as deep as you would like them to be, and you can navigate through them by clicking down through the various collections that are in here. Any file can be in as many collections as it takes to organize the material and make it discoverable. And so, in this case, I have some of my archives, and I can organize it into the material that was photographed back in the day at University of North Carolina, and I can subdivide that, say into concerts, and I can even have then links to particular content in here. So if I want to see pictures from of U2 from way back in the day, that is something that I can make visible to the stakeholders so they can know what's inside the collection. And that's really a huge challenge when you talk about a large collection, is how does somebody who's not an expert know what's in there? And we provide lots of different ways for you to make all of your stakeholders aware of what's actually in the collection. I'm gonna go show you what it looks like to be logged in as a user with a real account. In this case, I'm logged in as just a general user of the system. The front end is going to look pretty similar. In this case, I have the same permissions to view front page content as the public user, but I get more privileges as a logged in user, and this could be an SSO user, somebody's signing in from your organization with single sign-on. So it could be, we have universities that have tens of thousands of people who are automatically signing in to the account. Now we can tell here when we open the library that I'm actually seeing more than the public user. That public user we were looking at before only saw the two collections, public collections and Peter Krogh archives. This user has permission to look at the marketing library as well, and can navigate through that material, can look at videos. In this case, there's publishing company material, the book samples, covers. You can organize this stuff in any way that makes sense to your users and have this permission controlled experience. Another thing that we see as a logged in user is that the tag tree is showing, and this was not visible to a public user. What this is an organization of metadata tags that allows you to organize the content and make it visible and navigable to people. So I can create this in any way that I want. So in this case, because I have these bands, musicians, and concerts in the collection, I can easily create this browsable collection of concerts and let somebody take a look at all of the files from the Elvis Costello collection, or from when James Taylor was there, or the Neil Young files. And so what this does is it makes it really easy to find material. One of you can also search this. So if you're wondering if there are pictures of REM, yes, there are photographs of REM playing. So that's one place where you can make content highly discoverable, and we'll see some other things you can add on to that. The other place is the search box, and you can have you can search for general content there. If I wondered if there was Elvis Costello, you can see when I start typing, I can see the matches come up. And this is, again, a really important part of making content discoverable to your users. Let's see what a user can do when they've come in. And let's say they don't really know much about this, but they do know they want to download these two pictures. And I can see that as soon as I select it, those pictures, the download button appears, and depending on, pardon me, depending on my privileges, I may be able to download, or I may have to request access to files. And that's completely under your control as the administrator. I do know that there are certain files that I can download. Let's see, I think we're going to find them in here. No, let's go down. Sorry, I don't log in as this user very much over here. We do have a filter that does show us what is downloadable, and takes a moment to populate, but I can see that yes, I do have a original file download for a couple of these files. And so when I select those and go to download, it's going to show me that I have the ability to download the original file, and I simply hit the download button, and I can download those files, or I can share them with somebody else. If I want to share with someone, I can give that a name and get a share link, and that share link then can be emailed to whomever I want. And let's try that. And then that gives them the ability to view and download those files as well. Let's move on to making a lightbox. Another thing that any user can do is to save files that they happen to like, and they do that in the My Projects area. We try and make it easy for people to see where they can do some work. And if I have some if I want to search on concert photos, and then I'm gonna select some favorite concert photos that I want to keep close at hand, I'll select those files, and then I can make a lightbox and give it a name. So I'll create that lightbox, and then I simply drag the files into that lightbox, and this is a collection that is visible only to me initially. I can share and collaborate with other people in here, but this allows me to build groups of favorite files, but also to create projects, to sequence files. They're going to come in with a sequence, but if I would like to create a custom sequence and tell a story by having them, in a particular sequence, then I can do that, and that is a sequence that you can save, and when you come back to this lightbox, you have that sequence. You can invite other people really easily. I can start typing, let's do it as an @ can start typing a person's name, and they come right up, and I can say, drag a photo in here and say, what about this one? And that's going to send that person a message and allow them to join the lightbox so that they can we can collaborate inside this space. And this becomes a really powerful way for the users to discover and collaborate and sort out content. And okay, so this is the kind of general user access, but I want to move into an administrator access to give you an idea of how much is actually in the account and how we can configure it. So when I hit view all, I'm going to always see all the files that I have access to. I can see what types of files I have access to. If I wanted to only see videos, I just click on video and those are going to show. And we can see that there are 863 files that I am allowed to see. Now, when I go over to Chrome, I'm going to be logged in as an administrator. And let's look at everything. And we can see that there's actually 74,000 files in this account. So this is quite a large account, but we can go up into the millions if that's what you've got. And there's as the administrator, I see new elements that the other users don't see. So we did not see the file vault as when we were logged in as just a regular member or as somebody who's a public user. And the file vault is a file manager where you can where you can upload files directly, and if you can see something in the file vault, you have the ability to delete it. So when you give somebody content management privileges, these are higher level administrators, they get to manipulate whether files are added to the account or whether files can be removed from the account. Other users can't delete files from the account. And we make it so that it's very easy to see who has these privileges. We can also see when we open the library that there are lots of different sets of collections in this account. And so the marketing library was one we saw when we were logged in as the regular user, but we didn't see, for instance, the ICE Neurosystems library, which, if I look at it, is only accessible by people who are in the ICE Neurosystems group. So this is, we're starting to see how we can have different group access within the account. And it's very easy to make these groups, and it's also very easy to preview them to see who has access. We'll take a look at that in a minute. But you can see anywhere there's this group icon, that means this is a group library. And what our clients typically do is use this for different departments. If you were a creative agency, you might use it like I have done it here with ICE Neurosystems, which was a photo and video client of mine. If you're a heritage organization, you could do what I've done here with the Krogh Family Library and put a large amount of content in here, scanned content that can be navigated, and I can say, oh well, I want to go look at the vintage prints, or I want to look at the vintage Donald prints, which is a subset of the collection. So you have the ability to create collections really easily. Making a sub-collection is you right-click and you can add a collection inside of this, and then drag and drop files into that. If I wanted to make a sub-collection here just of the Dorothy Donald Krogh photos, I can search the collection on that. Let's make a sub-collection. Best Dorothy photos. So I've made that collection, and let's say I want to add a handful of photos of her to that collection. I just go take a look, grab those, and can drag them into that sub collection. So you have the ability to do curation of the files in a way that helps make them discoverable, and it's it feels very natural to make these collections. Another thing that you don't see in some places, depending on how you have your material organized, is that as you climb the tree, you see everything in all the collections beneath it as well. So I'm seeing the 408 pictures that are in the vintage Donald prints. And if I click on loose prints, I'm seeing the 2100 items that are in all of these sub collections. It really does make it much easier to look for content. A couple of things about searching here. Also, let's do a search where we're going to get a bunch of different types of results. And again, this is helping the stakeholders understand what's in the collection. And so when I type Mark, I'm going to see matches first of people and keywords. So maybe I'm looking for marketing. Maybe I'm looking for Mark Heath or Mark Noon or Mark Raker, or maybe I'm looking for Denmark, or maybe I'm looking for landmarks. So I'm seeing these matches, and this is teaching me, the user, what is in the account. I also will see matches of any collections that I'm allowed to see, but only of collections I'm allowed to see, or light boxes that I'm allowed to see, or folders in the file vault that I'm allowed to see, or any links that have been attached to files or collections or keywords are also going to show up here. And then, of course, there's a very broad search. If I just were to hit return, I'll be searching whatever collection I was on. Let's search the entire collection, and there's 1,000 matches of different sorts in here. But it's probably, I'm probably looking more for, say, just marketing material, or maybe I'm looking for a particular mark, like Mark Begans. So that's how search works there. It really does help you discover. Another thing that's really wonderful, especially for heritage collections, is the ability to have a date tree that you can navigate. So I can click on any date and see what material has that date. In this case, let's go up to, say, 1888. And because this photo has an actual date written on the back of it, August 5th, 1888, I can actually date it down to the day. But sometimes you can't. Sometimes all you have is a year, and we allow dating just to the year as well. These dates can be added in a number of different ways, including by drag and drop. So that if you have a bunch of scans that come in and they have scan date, and upon further research, you can pin it down to a particular date, you can drag it and drop it onto a particular day. And this can really help navigate through a collection and find that material. I want to also show you here something that I personally love, and that is when you search the taxonomy tree, you're going to come up with matches. In this case, searching Helen brings me Helen Blackstone Krogh, and I can show every file with that tag. So that's great. But if I click the name, I get a different view, and I get what we called an entity view. And this gives me more information and more capability to understand who she is. So what I see is a poster image, and then I see some copy that I've put in there about why she's important to the collection. I can see an unlimited number of web links that can tell me about that person. And then before I get down to the images themselves, what I'm seeing are any shared any keywords that are in any files that also have the keyword Helen Blackstone Krogh. And if I want to, I can filter down to just people, and I can see people who are tagged in the pictures of Helen. And so I can see that there's 111 pictures that have both Helen and Harold. And with a single click, I can see those pictures. I can also see that there's 3 pictures that have Helen, Harold, and Marie. And again, click that. And what this does is it allows me to discover relationships between people within the entire collection and to navigate it in a really intuitive way. I can also mouse over. I can see that Marie Lake Blackstone is a keyword. I can see whatever keywords are part of this collection, and so we can also navigate that way. Now, another thing that we see here is that in the taxonomy, there are things that don't match Helen, and that includes Frank Blackstone. Now, why is he showing up? Well, he's showing up because he's the father, and that her father, and it's in the description. And when you search Helen, you're not just searching the name of the tag, you are searching the description of the tags. And so this is where we start to really build a lot of knowledge about whatever is in the system. And you can add this piecemeal. You don't have to add it all at once. You can and you can give people in your organization the ability to research this information and to add it. And when I in this case, I can see that there's a bunch of web links, so I can whatever I was able to find about him, I can attach to the keyword Frank Dent Blackstone, and again build up lots of knowledge about who this particular person is. Let's see. I want to also show you that we are geo-enabled. So when you go to a map view, if there are geotags in the files, we will show them to you. And you can even misspell stuff, and it will take you. I misspelled Bodleian for the Bodleian Library, but it took me to Oxford anyway. I can go into a satellite view. I can zoom in. I can drop my little dude here and look around. It sees the picture as having been shot here. Really, it was shot from up here, but I can click that and see any files. They don't have to be pictures. They could be videos. They could be documents of any type that have that geotag. And of course, we give you the ability to add those geotags as well, and to add in bulk. And when you zoom out the map, you'll see that it acts as a filter. We're seeing in this upper right-hand corner how many files are within the rectangular view that we're looking at right now. And so there's 21 of them right now. If I switch over into the grid view, I can see which ones they are. And then if I switch back into the map view, let's say I wanted to go down to see what's in the Cape Town area, I can zoom down into that and again go into the grid view and see any files that have been tagged with that geographical region. So we can add date, we can add information about anybody in the picture, we can add this geodata, and all of this stuff can be at your fingertips for searching. Couple other things I want to show. We talked about the ability to have different departments. I want to show you what we can do there. So you can make these user groups, and you can make as many as you want. and they can have their own administrators, and you can give it a name, and then it'll build out a bunch of infrastructure in the website with just one button. One of the things it builds out is test users, so that you can see the experience of a member of that group. Now, by default, we hide them. I'm going to show that. And let's see what somebody who's on the marketing team would see. So when I start typing Mark, we find a match in the marketing team. There are 4 different roles within the marketing team, and I can see what any of these people can see by hitting the switch to button. And now I've switched into the identity of somebody who's in the marketing team. And when I open the file vault, what I see is that I have a partitioned storage that belongs only to me. And this allows you to give the people within your organization a little place in the dam, which is, it's a very common request, and it's also a very common denial in corporate world, because the people running the dam don't want to let somebody else have any administrator privileges, but we make it easy to segment out these administrator privileges. I also, as the content manager, have the ability to manage the marketing library. I have access to add new collections, to add new users, to add new permissions. But I don't have the permission to do that with the other libraries in the system. So all of this was created with one single button, and I can even go in and I can add my own users here if I want. I can invite new people to be part of the marketing team without needing to go to to a global administrator. I can manage my own users, my own content, my own submissions. And let's just switch back into the global administrator. So that's a really important capability, and that's what it's really the true enterprise capability, is to be able to say the people in this different division or department, or if you're an ad agency, your different clients can all have a different kind of user experience, including the ability to manage your own stuff. And then the last thing I want to show before any questions here would be usage rights. And so I'm going to switch over to another account for that. And so what we have is a thing that we call rights packages. And a rights package is a really capable bundle of information that you can create for a particular ownership class of material. So the first thing we can see is that there are these general classes of ownership. We call this the right status. Does our organization own it? Do we have unlimited use of it? Do we have limited use? Do we have the right to store it only? Do we have no rights? Or are rights unknown? This is pretty common within a lot of organizations, and a lot of times they need to be split between we haven't searched and we have searched, and we're just unable to figure out what our rights are. And being able to classify your rights this way is really useful, but it's even more useful because you can break that down within the right status to say, well, if I bought 51 pictures from Getty royalty free and I tag them as Getty royalty free, then I can know what my usage rights are. And when I mouse over this info button, this tells me that we have a subscription to Getty royalty free and we can use these internally. And this is a right statement that is put into those files, and this is a second party. So that's a class of rights that can be attached to, or this rights package can be attached to files upon upload, and then that will put an appropriate IPTC usage rights statement in it. There's a lot more information you can add to it. Let's take a look at this. Let's say we have a portrait made by Sam Kittner, and so in the administrative description, I can say how these pictures came about, and or these files of any type got into our system, because we hired Sam to make this portrait, and he gave us a limited right from through 2022 to use these photos in the view book. Here's the named second party. You can set expirations on it. In this case, it expired 10 months ago, and you can even attach the contract that you had to acquire. Essentially, you attach it to the rights package, and then that attaches it to the files themselves. So you can track that in a really, it's a really important thing to be able to do, to be able to have that. And then you can even say what happens when you when it runs out. It's, badging it here, and you can also in the rights manager, rights package manager, you can say that upon expiration, we set the expiration, and that's going to prevent download, and it's going to automatically watermark that file. So we have the capability to add actions upon expiration to help keep your people from accidentally violating a contract that you may have to use photos. It's also really important, I think, for any organization where employees are creating material that is owned by the organization as work for hire, that you tag it that way. You can set up requirements upon upload that people have to tag for rights, so that you can have an unambiguous set of rights that are that belong to the organization. And if it's work for hire rights from an employee, I'm not sure what the default is in South Africa. In the US, typically that's work for hire. That means it's owned by the organization. And there's something else which we didn't see. You may have noticed this blue tint. So this last thing I'll show you here is that what the blue tint means is that something in this group of files belongs to somewhere inside this. So there are 313 assets here. At least one of them is somewhere inside the marketing library as well. And I can follow the blue tints down and see that, there's some of them are in this buildings collection. Some of them are here. But if we go down to the rights package, this is where it becomes really interesting, is I can see that of the files that I've put in the company library, so that's what this collection is. And let's say I'm going to make this visible to the entire company, or maybe even downloadable. It would be really important to be able to know what rights have been attached to the files in this group. And I can see that some of these are owned by the company, and I can click on it and see that there are 22 files that are marked as company ownership, and then undo that filter. And I can see that there's some files that are marked as unlimited use. If I want to see those, I can click, and I can see that's 167 files that we have unlimited use of. Or we have some that have come from royalty-free stock, and then we have some where someone put just a generic right statement that there's unlimited use. And then I can also see that somewhere in this library, we have something that's rights unknown. We have 7 assets where the rights are not known. And this is when it would be really important to go find out whether it's okay for us to use those in the website or to make those downloadable. So this two-way communication through the use of the blue tints lets you know a lot of information in bulk about the assets that you are looking at any given time. We really want to make it easy for people to honor their contracts and not get in trouble by violating the contract. There's so much more in Mediagraph, but I feel like once we get this far, it's pretty that's a lot. And I'd love to answer any questions. Dave, you're muted.
Sorry. Wonderful. Thank you, Peter. Thank you for that sort of kind of overview from 20,000 feet of the system, which is extremely powerful. And Peter hasn't even shown you sort of the integrations with Adobe and how you can have files go out into Adobe Lightroom, back into it, in a very intuitive way, and keep various versions and so on and so forth. But I'm sure there may be some questions that people have for Peter. And maybe we should just end the screen sharing just so that people can ask. Any questions? Go for it, Apiwe.
I have a question for Peter, and luckily myself and David actually met earlier. We certainly don't live too far apart geographically, but my own question was, an implementation of the system within a school setting would be ideal that multiple departments have their contributions to a central point. That being an editor and a curator of that specific content that aligns with the brand. It seems that the management is much easier rather than having everybody kind of contribute in their own way, and so the brand doesn't continue that way. Is it difficult in the sense of managing that throughout time because you have to bring about the same brand guidelines as such? Because I see there's quite a consistency in yours, regardless of the portfolios or the content library that you have. There seems to be an ongoing consistency with how you've created your brand particularly. So are all the people underneath your team buying into the same contributions that you have?
Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit. We've brought quite a few schools that have migrated in with very large collections and with multiple groups that are working together in the collection itself. And so it's very easy to create groups for the different departments. So they can, as you're saying, they're bringing stuff into a central place, and the global administrators can see what they're bringing in. The global administrators can also, we see that in a school situation, a multi-department situation, where they're putting brand guidelines in the account itself, and typically that would be PDF form. They'll have the brand guidelines, and then they'll be able to put all their logos in there, and then they'll be able to monitor what gets uploaded. So that's a way for them to see to enforce that branding. And then depending on the structure, sometimes there's a central design team, and that design team is actively involved in the management. sometimes frequently there's a central photo and video creation team, and then they're doing their editing through the as their process of editing makes the files available, the stuff that they want, that's on brand to it really works quite well for schools, which one of the reasons I guess it's so important for schools is that communicating with the prospective students as well as family and alumni is very highly dependent on imagery, and so you really do have to bring all that stuff together and have an editing process and be able to know that you have fresh content as well. You can't be showing pictures that are 8 years old. Nobody wears that anymore. And so that's where, say, the date tree is quite useful to be able to say, okay, anything we have in our library that's more than 5 years old probably doesn't belong here.
Understood. Yeah. Thank you for that, Peter.
Just a little question there. Everything seems to hang around using tags to find things. And is this a bit like a very large database manager where you've got to create those tags and link everything to those tags in the first place to be able to find anything? And how would you go about that? Is that automatically extracted from things, or do you have to create those manually?
Yeah, let me show you a couple of things here. So we do auto tagging with an AI tool. We don't show that to most users, but if you were to search for happy woman, these were identified by AI. They're not all happy, I guess. So that's one thing. The other thing is that we allow we have drag and drop tagging, so that you can say you can grab files and add the tags. But a lot of times, for our clients, what's most important are people, and we do have great AI for that. So let's look. I have this guy, my father, and some of this was done manually, but then through the facial recognition, we can look and see that there are 558 pictures that are identified as him that were done by artificial intelligence. And essentially that's you give it a couple of training faces and it runs through and it identifies people really well. And so the Mediagraph artificial intelligence knows what my dad looks like from this age to an 80-year-old man, and is able to add the tag Paul H.J. Krogh to it automatically. So you get a lot of auto tagging done in that way. But then also we do make it easy for you to add tags. So if you I don't know if we have the tag horse in here. Yeah, so I can see that this file is not tagged with riding horses, because there's no check mark there, but I can drag it on there. And now you'd see a check mark in that. And you see that check mark means that it's here. I can also refresh it, and I'd see that in the popover. And you can do that for multiple files at a time. You can grab 1,000 files and drag them onto a tag. And so that's a big part of it, is to allow tagging in bulk and to do it to a controlled vocabulary. One of the things we find when people come in, for instance, there's just doing a university migration now of 150,000 pictures, and they wrote the president's name 6 different ways. And we're able to consolidate that into one way, that one official way that president's name is written. And so when somebody searches and starts typing that person's name, they will get all the instances of that person. So consolidating those tags together becomes a really important part of how we make stuff discoverable. We can also consolidate creator tags, and so that you can find by the creator if files are tagged, if that's an important part of what you need to do.
Right. The control tag is obviously very important. Otherwise, it starts to create its own. It starts to pick up, say, everything with the color blue, or random tags that are totally useless to you at the end of the day, and starts to create a lot of noise and corruption in your searchability.
Absolutely. And I think that one of the, people do turn it off. We give you the ability to turn it off or not. We give you the ability to set the confidence level, and the higher you set it, the more likely it is to be accurate. But I'll say that, in my opinion, the most important stuff is not stuff an artificial intelligence agent is ever going to be able to know, or at least in the near term. And so a big objective for us is to allow you, the person who knows about this collection, who knows the people, who knows the events, for you to put that information in and to do it easily, and then to make it really easy to find.
Cool, thanks.
Peter, just if you could speak to the exportability of this data.
Yes, we strongly believe in this stuff is yours. So as an administrator, anytime you have files selected, you can download a CSV of essentially all the information that we have about those files. And when possible, any metadata that you add to files is something that we embed in the file for download. And we support more than 80 IPTC, standard IPTC fields, so that the metadata that you add can be, almost all of it can be added to the files themselves for download. It just automatically happens when you download the file. And that includes the usage rights statements, and who the creator might be, and GPS data, and all of that can be, is just automatically embedded.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Peter. I see we're out of time. And so you are free to leave from now, but maybe there's 1 or 2 other questions that someone has for Peter. If we can just stop screen sharing and just... Anyone else with a question?
There was a lot of information in 1 hour.
But I think what everyone can see is it's an extremely powerful system for managing media right across your organization and preparing files for repurpose in whatever direction those files need to go. And there's very much more to Mediagraph that hasn't been showcased, but we'll probably show those in future webinars and kind of sort of other deep dives into parts of this system. So thank you.
I'd like to add one other thing,
Yep.
Dave, which is that one of the best ways to understand this is to have our good friends at Africa Media Online set up a trial account for you and to import some significant amount of material and let them show you how that material is so much easier to navigate, and how any metadata that might be in there can be brought to the surface and made use of. And that really is an eye-opening event for most people. It's certainly anybody in the school environment, they really just love what they see, but also in cultural heritage and just about anywhere else, because most people don't have the ability to really get at that information and organize your stuff according to it. So strongly suggest you give that a try.
Absolutely. And we're here to help you. And thank you, Peter. Thanks for everyone for attending. It was great to interact with you. And hopefully we can have follow-up meetings from this.